Do you think that we will have that pivotal moment where like Safari or Chrome or any traditional browsers will have the native integration? I mean, that's the biggest problem of the industry right now, right? People want to use it and they don't want like if we're not talking about Gen Z, it's a completely other thing. But like the old money people, let's call them this way, it's super hard for them to get introduced to the crypto, to download wallet, to do all these transitions between the accounts and applications. If they launch the project and it's not working on Safari, it's a red flag to them.
For sure. For sure. I mean, yeah, that's why I think like, this it like you can either like accomplish or make that easier in like one of two ways, right? Right. Like you can either like have crypto functionality like built into like the browser application, or you can have crypto functionality built into like directly built into the website that they're using, right? And so like I don't know if I see like the first ever happening, like Chrome or Safari like building crypto features directly into their browsers. And so that's why I think like the ability to like sign in with a Gmail or like a social account to like your crypto wallet, and like being able to kind of just bring your crypto wallet like you would bring your like Google account to like whatever website. I think that that seems like the easier way to get there without us, because then it's like it's on the web developer who's building the site. It's like, oh, you just have to drop in this SDK that like allows users to kind of like port their Coinbase Smart Wallet account or their Privy account to your application. Um, Whereas in the other way, we kind of have to be like, oh, Google, Apple, whoever, like, please add a crypto wallet to the browser.
Well, that's the biggest problem. And for now, like, at your opinion, well, building this type of infrastructures, or what are your go-to technologies if you have to like build something from scratch?
Like full stack crypto application, like any
Yep,
specific thing.
crypto application.
Yeah, I mean, TypeScript. I think, WAGMI is probably my favorite. Like WAGMI and VM are my favorite kind of like, crypto interaction libraries at this point. React, obviously, like still a big React fan. Next.js, I mean, it depends. Like, Vercel has a lot of like nice add-ons. So Vercel is great, but like if you don't care about server-side rendering as much, like Netlify is also decent. And yeah, that's kind of like the front end bits. I mean, everything else, like TanStack is great if you want, super advanced state and, good caching support and all of that kind of stuff. Remix is also pretty good. And so, yeah, that's front end. And then back end, I would say my like go-to back end stack these days is Nest.js. Just allows like, really good kind of like setup and has like a lot of sane defaults. And, I think it's also great, especially if the project is going to be like more long term. Like if I was doing a hackathon project, I'd probably just do that I knew was never going to go anywhere. I'd probably just spin up an Express server and like you don't even need TypeScript and stuff like that. But like if you're building a project for the long term, Nest is good because it enforces you to, you know, follow some conventions. Um, and yeah, I think like for if and when new developers come onto the project, like Nest has a very standard way of doing things that like it'll be easier for more developers.
Have you tried the Supabase as a database?
I have not, but I've heard of it for sure, but I've never used it before. Like I just use Postgres or like SQLite most of the time.
I want to try it. I've heard about it a lot. And I was like, I need some small project at least to try it out. And I wanted to hear your opinion about it. And what do you think? Are there any new technologies in Web3 for the developers that you will definitely suggest them to check it out? Because last time when we were talking about a specific use case, you suggest me to take a look at Peanut Protocol, and it was a know-how for me. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that I would take a look at now are like the Coinbase Smart Wallet SDK, the Privy SDK, and the third I think would be Zero Dev. I think that's what it's called. Let me just double check.
Oh yeah, zero dev or zero dev. Yeah.
I think that like, the future of crypto UX is like, I don't know if it's going to be any one of those companies, but like that's what it looks like in my opinion. So I think like, using any of those things, especially like Zero Dev and I think maybe Coinbase Smart Wallet are going to force you to learn about like account abstraction, and bundlers and paymasters and all of this, which I mean, I know you, Armin, have a bit of experience now with some of that stuff. Um, but for like other Web3 devs, like I know that it's maybe not integrated in a ton of places right now, but I think if we fast forward 2 years, like a lot of those things are going to be integrated like almost everywhere. And so I think it's good to kind of be ahead of the curve and like learning about that stuff now.
What do you think about other blockchain technologies and their affection to the whole Web3 industry? For example, Solana, which is in a completely other story with their own SDKs and libraries.
For sure. I mean, Solana is huge, and you can't ignore Solana either. I think having done very little, but some like Solana dev stuff, it's a lot harder than Ethereum right now. Like the dev tooling isn't nearly as good. And you kind of just have to chew glass a little bit more in Solana. But I think, yeah, like, there's a ton of Solana focused dev jobs now. And so like, I think you can either like specialize in like Ethereum and learn account abstraction and all of the stuff that might be on like EVM chains in the next couple of years, or you can also like know a little bit about like Ethereum dev and learn about like Solana front end dev as well, and maybe learn a bit of Rust so that you are desirable to both like Ethereum or EVM based companies and like SVM based companies. I think a lot of skills are transferable. Obviously the languages are different. Oh, well, at least like Rust versus Solidity is different. But like, at the end of the day, like for all of the web development stuff, like you're gonna need an API, you're gonna need a front end. The libraries are slightly different, but like the paradigms are the same. There's a connect wallet button. You have to trigger a transaction to a user's like wallet. And so I think like a lot of the skills, if you learn one, are transferable to the other.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like infinite learning process for engineers and developers.
Of course, man. Yeah, you gotta be willing for new things all the time. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, especially with AI in the corner.
Yeah, and I mean, like I think AI is great. Like I have been using Cursor a ton. I feel like it allows me to get stuff done fast, like more quickly. It's great for like debugging, it's great for reasoning about code. And so, I think maybe some people are like, "Oh, like AI is going to take our jobs." And my view is more that like AI is going to allow me to produce 3 times more code than I am today.
Do you think Cursor is much more better than latest version of GPT?
The reason I like Cursor is because it's like integrated into your like IDE, right? So it's like, here's a file, like here's a set of files, like refactor this, or, like it's just much more, yeah, integrated into the IDE, into the developer experience. And so I find it more useful for that. Like, I mean, when I first started using AI for coding stuff, like I was dropping snippets to ChatGPT and talking about it and, like refining it that way. But it's just like, faster, and like you also have access to all of the latest GPT models like directly within Cursor. Like you can choose the model that you're conversing with, whether it's Sonnet 3.5 or GPT 4.0 or 3.5. And so I think that's also really cool. I also know that now GitHub is also creating their own answer to some of this stuff. Like they're trying to bring a lot of the like, I think it's mainly GPT models since GitHub's Microsoft now. Like much more directly into like the VS Code application. So it'll be interesting to see kind of like, and I think I also heard of one called, maybe it's called Zed or something. That's like another really popular, like integrated like IDE with an AI assistant. So yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm excited about the future of like AI software engineering and like, making the career more accessible to, more people, and also like for the people that are already experienced, like being able to build stuff better, faster.